Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I am Lola. Today, we are talking about Final Girl. Now, this is our Series 1 that we got as our channel 1-year anniversary. And there is a Series 2, and there is an upcoming Series 3.
The Kickstarter for that just ended, but the Pledge Manager should be open soon.
Now, before we go into our review of this game, we'll give you a very quick overview of how it's played. To play a game of Final Girl, you will require the core box as well as one feature film box. If you have never played a game before, Camp Happy Trails is the recommended box to play with because it has the simplest amount of rules. There are additional boxes that can be purchased either within series franchise boxes or individually for around $20 each. The fun thing about having different feature film boxes is you can mix and match between the killer, locations, as well as the final girls you'll use, making each gameplay a different experience. Now, to play a game, you'll take your feature film box and remove the location and killer board and put them in front of you. You'll take the various components out, which consists of setup cards, item cards, event cards, as well as terror cards. Each killer and location has its own terror cards specific to their story. You will shuffle them together, and that will create your terror deck. To finish setting up will require components from the core box, which includes your action cards. You begin your game with all of the zero-time action cards. These are the cards that allow you to do actions through the game. They are all mediated through dice rolls that are determined by the horror track. The higher the horror is in your game, the less amount of dice you have to roll. Now, throughout your game, you can use your cards to mitigate the horror and bring it down, while the events that are happening are bringing it up. Throughout the game, you will try to rescue victims to try to gain extra abilities as well as certain advantages. The object of the game is to kill the killer before they kill you. You each have a certain amount of health points to begin, and whoever wins will be the one left standing. This will be done through playing your action cards, which will involve things like attack actions, search actions for items, move actions to get out of there. Along the way, events will be happening that will be progressing your story. As the killer attacks victims and kills them, the bloodlust track goes up, making the game harder and harder as the killer gets more and more powerful. As they gain power, they also have additional dark power cards that get revealed, making it even tougher yet. Each game is a unique experience where you're playing a story that unfolds around you based on your choices and your actions. Now, this is a solo game, and that is a really important point to mention that we haven't done yet. Now, some people do play it in a pair, as in a couple cooperatively, and that is an option, but otherwise it is a purely solo game. Now, the artwork is really lovely with all of this. Like, the item cards are fantastic, the different killers, the final girls, and all of the different location boards. Beautiful artwork.
Each of the feature films usually has a different artist, but every single one of them is completely on point with the theme of the game.
Yeah, it's highly thematic, and they do a really good job with that. So the components are really nice as well. Like, the meeples are nice wooden meeples, nice wooden components. Now, you notice in all of our pictures and videos, we do have miniatures. Those we have bought separately. So if you're buying the series piecemeal, so the nice thing about this is it can be highly economical. The core box is about $20, that's required to play, and then each feature film is also about $20, and you only need one to play. And it's that easy. And the nice thing is you can get more feature films to play new experiences, and then you can combine them in a myriad of ways, which is really fun. So just paying $20 here and there, getting those makes it really cheap and affordable. Now, however, if you're a completionist and you want it all, it's really, really expensive. And particularly if you're buying them all individually. You can buy all the minis separately, as well as different kinds of books and all sorts of different things. Now, you can also buy the series as complete sets in two different ways. One, you can buy the franchise box. The franchise box comes with each of the feature films, the core box, if it's the series 1, as well as playmats or some various extra things. However, those miniatures aren't included in that. You can buy each series as an ultimate box, which has all the materials that there is, except for the mystery box, which always has to be purchased separately. So there's lots of options in any case to work through this material. And I really love the interchangeable system that's here. Now, setup and takedown is actually surprisingly fun to do. It's also really easy to do because the system is so streamlined. So each feature film features on one side, it's got your location and your location cards on that side. On the flip side is your killer and all of their corresponding cards and materials. They magnet to the box, so you just flip it off, there, you're pretty much ready to go. Pull out the materials from each and the ones you need from your core box. It takes just 5 minutes to set up.
I'm really impressed with that whole magnet. The design of the magnet closures on the box, it's just, they snip together nice and solid, and you would never know if you didn't know how these things went together that they were pull apart boxes and there were other pieces inside.
Yeah, so yeah, very streamlined, and also there's not a lot of extra unused space. It's not a lot of bloat to it on an individual basis. It works really, really well. Now, this is a really popular game, like super popular, and there's a reason for it. This game is a ton of fun to play.
It's a story-driven game. It's a lot like Nemesis, where you can go in there, don't expect to win, and that way if you do win, it's great, but if you don't win, you've got a good story to tell.
Yeah, it's really fun, the different stories that unfold as you play. And each time you play, even if you're using the same killer, the same location, you're going to have a different story that develops and a different experience, because you'll have different tarot cards, different events come up, and it makes each game a really unique experience. And that's all without switching around the different killers and the girls and the locations, which provides an even more interesting different variety of experiences you can have with this game. So this game is highly, highly replayable too. And as a solo game, it's particularly fantastic because myself, I like to solo game. I love it a lot, but I'm not a fan of a solo game where you're running a complicated automa, where you're simulating other players in order to make the game work. This is a full experience in and of itself that plays so very, very well. And this is a game that has a good amount of push your luck. So that is important to know, and that isn't usually my favorite kind of mechanic. I'm not a huge lover of the dice chucker. I can enjoy some of these games, yes, but the luck of die rolls can really make a gaming experience not so great for me. But within this game, there is a good amount of mitigation. So there are cards that you can use and play that can mitigate your die rolls, as well as items that you can get or events. And there's that horror track where if you're able to bring down and decrease the horror level, you can get more dice to roll, which can really help you out a lot. But I also think that that luck element of the rolls is highly thematic with this. Basically, with playing this horror slasher game, there is going to be times you might trip while you're trying to sprint across the lawn, trying to save a victim or whatever. So it leads that element of suspense, of you don't know what's going to happen. Because otherwise, there's a good amount of strategy to this game, which is why I really do love it, despite the luck of the dice, because there's a lot that you can do with your cards, and it all comes into how you play your cards. So you have your cards, and the game starts with your action phase. Your action phase, you get to play your cards, which let you do various things like search, pick up items, move around, try to rescue other victims, or go in to attack the killer. After you've finished your actions, you get to do your planning phase, in which you can use your time, and your time is your currency. So you use your time to do your actions, but you also use your time, whatever you have left, to purchase new cards. Now, you can discard cards at the end of your action phase to increase your time, 1 card per 1 time element, in order to be able to buy some more cards, because as your cards are more powerful, they also cost a lot more time and are harder to get. So there's a really good amount of strategy of managing your time, managing your actions, and managing your planning for the next phase that I really, really love. So there's a lot to think about there, and there's a lot to strategize with what's going on in the board. Now, once you're done your planning phase, then it goes into the killer phase. You find out what they're going to do that turn based on their base move, followed by a terror card being drawn, which might lead to an event being drawn, which might lead to the killer moving and attacking, or various events that happen that make the game interesting and exciting.
And it can be very eerie how thematic the game, or how easily the game itself, even though it's random, falls into the theme of these horror films. I spent a game where I rescued a couple of people, took them out the front door of the house, and then the killer phase came along, triggered an event where the front door locked, and I was locked outside, which is exactly what would happen in a horror film.
And a haunted house, that's the way things go. I really enjoy the flow of the game. So as mentioned, after those phases, then there's a panic phase where victims may panic, and an upkeep phase, and then it starts all again. So it's not real time, so it's not too scary. There's a lot of thinking you get to do, so it's highly thematic. Like, they really, really get the theme going, and the theme is tons of fun.
Yeah, as you look at the different feature films that are available through the different series, you might recognize some of the elements from famous horror films. Not everyone is inspired by a specific feature film or a specific horror film, but a lot of them, you can pick out some elements.
Now, our final thoughts on this. Man, we love this game. This is so much fun to play. And I gotta tell you, we are not horror movie fans at all. We do not watch horror movies. I find them scary. It's not my happy place. But I have, throughout my life, watched a fair amount, and I can recognize these tropes and these themes, and it's fun. And it's fun because it's in an environment where you can get the ambiance. It's creepy, but it's just enjoyable to play. It's done really, really well. The whole design is really amazing how well it's put together. And at this point, I have played through the entirety of Series 1, including the vignette. The vignette is something that you also have to purchase separately, even if you get the series box, unless you get the ultimate one. And they've all been really fun. What's nice too is you can get a scenarios book, which can then as well drive you through different scenarios and storylines to play that incorporate different maybe final girls and locations with a following storyline. So once you've played through everything, you can play through it again, but you can mix them all up and have completely different experiences. And one thing I find for myself is playing this game can be my self-care. I don't find a lot of time for solo games because we have a very busy family and family life, and we play a lot together. But for me, it's like if having a candlelit bath at the end of the night, some alone time, some self-care time, but instead it's a candlelit game of Final Girl with spooky ambiance, and that's kind of a nice sweet space where I can do something that's just for me, and I can play it as I want to, and it's just a really lovely experience. This is a really wonderful game to play throughout Halloween or any time of the year, really, and I highly recommend it. If this sounds interesting to you, if you like the theme, if you like that bit of strategy with a little bit of a luck with the story element, it is one that we really love. Thank you so much for watching today.
If you enjoyed this content, please check out some of our other videos and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already.
And as always, happy gaming, folks. Today, we are talking about... When are you gonna bring it in? We are talking about... It takes so long. Hi, and welcome back to...
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I am Lola. Today, we are talking about... Should we start it all again? Along the way, events will be happening that will be